Good afternoon, everyone. I'm actually joining from Barcelona, Spain, so forgive the slight delay in the join here. My name is Lawton Smith. I'm a co-founder of Literal. We're going to go through just a quick intro to who we are today. We're certainly pleased to be here with you. Admire everyone, getting back in school and learning new skills. Desperately needed in our modern workforce, and we're excited to talk about Literal with you. So let's dive right in. For those of you who've not seen Literal before, Literal is a new way to read. I'm going to just stop on that for a moment. Reading has been around for millennia, and Literal is reinventing what it means to read and how we can read. And we'll talk about that in a moment. We are a new media company. And, once again, like all of you being in school today, we are focused on education. We're an ed tech company. And specifically, we're focused on secondary education, which is grades 6 through 12. Our mission is to create a new generation of engaged readers. And we'll look at why that mission is timely at the moment, why it matters, and what we're setting out to accomplish as a company. Our story at Literal starts with this guy. And if nobody knows who this is Ernest Hemingway, one of modern history's more popular authors, legendary. And I sat down one night to read a book written by Ernest Hemingway. I'd gone about 7 years without reading a novel. I've been reading business books, self-help books all the time, of course, online, headlines, news articles, social media feeds. But I hadn't actually sat down with the work of fiction for quite a while. Why? Because I have Netflix, right? If you can watch a story, why would you read it? So I decided it was time to sit down and read. And I opened up For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is actually a story that takes place in Spain during the Spanish Civil War with Ernest Hemingway. And I couldn't make it past page 2 before my brain started to pull me in other directions, right? It was telling me, what are you doing looking at this black text on a white page? Check your phone, check the headlines. You're missing something. And I used to read novels all the time and could sit down and hammer through 300 pages without thinking about it. And now I couldn't make it past page 2. So I sort of had almost an out of body experience and said, oh my gosh, what is going on in the mechanics of my brain right now? Something's misfiring. We did a little bit of research and found out that it wasn't only me. It turns out that these little fun modern mobile devices that we carry around with us, cell phones, tablets, the time we spend on screens in general, is fundamentally rewiring our minds, our brain. It is changing the way that our brain consumes information and the kind of media experience that our modern minds expect as we're interacting with media. And as we spend a disproportionate amount of time with digital media versus print media, our brains, which form habits and thought processes through repetition, the more it's exposed to digital media, the more it expects digital media. And a print book, which is what I was trying reading, just wasn't keeping up. So one night, a good friend of mine and I were heading here. This is Pamplona, Spain. We were going to run with the bulls. We decided last minute to go do it. This is my co-founder, Michael Romrell, here down below. This is me up top. And as we were on our way to run with the bulls, which Ernest Hemingway wrote about quite often, I said, Michael, I've got this idea. Reading is on the decline. Our modern minds can't process it. I think we can build a company to innovate how it means to read and what it means to read, and that there'd be a good market opportunity there. And that is where Literal was born. I'm going to show you Literal rather than talk to you about it. And give me just one moment, and I'm going to bring Literal up on the screen here. And you can do this on your own too if you're in front of a PC right now. Go to read.literalapp.com. And what you're going to see is a reading experience unlike anything else that you have experienced in the past. When you first open the book, as you scroll down here, you'll see that we've built Literal to look a little bit like Netflix. But everything you see on here is a story. I'm going to open up Pride and Prejudice. So this is Pride and Prejudice. Right away, this doesn't look like your average reading application. It looks like a modern media application. And if you scroll down, you'll see a couple of really unique things about Literal. Number one, we've identified every character that appears in Pride and Prejudice, and we've named those characters. We've given each character a profile picture. And the reason why we've given each character profile picture is not to just put a face with a name to help you understand who the characters are, but we've looked at that and said, you know what? What is a book? What is a story? It's a conversation between characters. What modern mobile applications do we use that helps us visualize conversations between characters in a way that feels fun and native and modern on our phones? Well, that's texting and group chat. Think about it. Group chat is essentially just a conversation between friends, members of a group. In a book is really just a conversation between the characters in the book. There are things they say, which is dialogue, which traditionally is put in quotation marks, and then there's narration, but it's just a bunch of characters with names that say things. And we said, well, why don't we take that and why don't we apply the paradigm of modern texting and social media applications to classic literature? And this is the result. I'm going to click on autoplay here in the bottom right, and I'm just going to let this book play for a moment and turn the speed all the way up. What you're looking at here is Pride and Prejudice as Jane Austen originally wrote it in the 1800s. We haven't changed any of the dialogue, but we've completely gone through and reformatted the text to fit into a conversational narrative. So all those character profile pictures that you saw on the left, that you saw on the previous screen appear on the left. The narrator appears on the right. Dialogue shows up in a white text box. We've got the narrator on the right. So it's as easy to read as a social media conversation. And because we've built in this autoplay functionality, just digest this for a moment. You are watching a book. When was the last time that you were able to just sit back and watch a book, right? How many hours do we spend on Netflix looking for something good to watch? Well, there's a million stories available that have been written over the past X number of hundreds of years. You can now, if you don't find anything on Netflix, you can find something on Literal. There's always a good story to be found. We've also built in a couple of reading supports here. So this is classic literature, for example, even though we also have modern titles on the platform. If you are reading a piece of classic literature and there's some language you don't understand, you can actually click on a speech bubble. It's going to queue up that speech bubble that you've clicked on and all the text, and you can click on any word in that speech bubble and receive an instant definition. So this defines the word for you. If you're not sure how that old word is pronounced, you can hear it pronounced here. Click on the speech bubble. And then if you're a foreign language speaker and you don't quite understand that word in English, you can actually select from a drop-down box here. We can translate that word into Catalan, and extraordinary is extraordinari. You can bookmark texts and come back to it, and quickly navigate a text with as much ease and fun and interaction as you do when you're actually reading a group text on your phone. So that's Literal in a nutshell. There's a number of different things we have here as well. You can form a group, like a book group with your friends, or because we're focused on secondary education right now, a teacher can create a classroom, can then add individual students to that classroom or to that reading group and assign books to the reading group. And then live and in real time, the teacher can see the list of students that have been added to that group. And I'm going to pick a book here. And then she can actually see the reading progress. She or he, teacher, can find the reading progress of the students that are in the book. And in the time of COVID, where so much learning is remote, we've built in some additional aids here to help the educators that are using Literal as a student logs in, this entire row will automatically turn green, indicating to the teacher that that student is in the application, is actively reading in the application. And the teacher can actually watch the student's progress unfold here in real time to track who's in there, what their reading speed is, when their last active date was, um, and then actually keep track of reading progress and provide rewards to the students who are reading actively on the system. There's a number of other features. For example, if you want to go here and search for a title, let's search for Harry Potter. Not a title we have on the system today, but as you search for it, it will present you Harry Potter, and then you can actually just click on request this title, and that sends a link to our editorial team saying, hey, people want to see Harry Potter on the system. And that allows us to go out and get access to those titles if possible so that we can provide those to our reader community. So this is Literal, a combination of classic literature and modern stories, including YA adventure that you can find here on the system. I'm going to stop sharing and dive into some of the open positions we have currently. This is a hiring summit. So this is Team Literal. Let me go back into full screen mode. Myself and Michael Romrell are the co-founders. We've got a great support team around us of educators and innovators and entrepreneurs. We are a startup. We are by nature remote. I'm calling from Spain, even though the headquarters is in Utah, down in Provo. We are currently have one position left open for sales to help us sell into schools. We have a couple of positions open for editors to help us translate books into this text messaging format. We've got one role open for UX. We are looking for experienced UX developers. And we do have 2 developer positions that are not necessarily open immediately, but we're always collecting applications for to try and get the best candidate who's a good fit for the organization. So roles we have open immediately are sales, editorial, and UX, and we are collecting resumes for dev at the moment. So I won't spend but a few more minutes on this, and then we can open it up for questions. We are Literal. You can apply directly on our website, read.literalapp.com, scroll to the very bottom, or just go to our main page at literalapp.com, and you can find the link there. The problem we are trying to address is a decline in reading. These are from a couple of interviews with teenagers. Why aren't you reading as much as we used to? Well, books are boring. The internet is too distracting. And our personal favorite quote from teens about why they're not reading as much as they used to: well, books just smell like old people. why would I want to pick up a paperback book? And it's true. I mean, think about it. Books haven't changed in over 500 years, even on the Amazon Kindle. What the Amazon Kindle is essentially doing is trying to emulate the experience of reading a paper book on a digital screen. Why? A digital screen can do so much more, right? We've got Snapchat, we've got Instagram, you've got TikTok, you've got all these beautiful interactive applications that are always dynamic. They're changing, they're drawing you in, they're built to retain users. Well, there's a million of these things to distract you out of a book, but there's nothing to pull you back in. Consumer attention spans, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, are changing. In fact, if we look at where high school seniors are currently spending their time, and this is about 1 million high school seniors over the past several decades that have been surveyed, 96% of high school seniors text or use social media every day for fun. Only 16% of high school seniors read a book every day for fun. And in fact, a new report just came out yesterday from the federal government that 16% is now 13%. In 1 year, 3 additional percentage points gone, right? Reading is fighting a losing battle for consumer time and attention. What impact does that have, right? As we spend up to 6 hours a day, which is the current average for adolescents, 6 hours a day in texting and social media. What's the impact of that on intelligence and reading capacity? Well, according to the survey that just came out yesterday, reading scores are declining in 70% of US states. This is despite the fact that the federal government spends 300, now process this number for a moment, $300 billion a year on grades 6 through 12. And reading scores are declining in 70% of US states. Federal government and traditional classrooms cannot compete with modern social media applications for teenagers' time and attention. If we're going to get teens to read, if we're going to help ourselves, not just teenagers, read more than we are today because of all the advantages that come with reading, we've got to sort of meet ourselves where we're at, and that's on our phones. And we need an innovative, compelling way to read on those phones. The impact of reading scores declining, according to the SAT organization, is that the English scores of entering college freshmen were the lowest they'd been in over 15 years. The US Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, stated it as clearly as could be stated. This must be America's wake-up call. Reading has got to change to keep up with where our time and attention is being drawn. That solution is called chat fiction. There's a huge market for chat fiction in the way that we're presenting books. In fact, if you were to advertise on Snapchat, you could cater to an audience of over 16 million enthusiasts for reading stories in a chat-like format. Leader in the market, has over 10 billion users, is doing over $1 million a month in revenue. News outlets like CBS and Forbes are raving about books in this format because they're drawing so much attention. Reading is dead in its current form. Long live reading as it adapts and changes with the times. Literal has been reviewed by a number of industry publications. We received 5 stars out of 5 from Common Sense in Education. We were named one of the top tech for advanced learners in English language arts. Once again, we're focused on secondary education. We've formed partnerships with a number of educational publishers to have meaningful, emotionally positive YA content live and on the platform. As we saw, we have various vocabulary and translation tools. We've been building Literal for about 18 months, and we've been selling it for about as long. We currently have a pipeline of about $7 million of schools that have approached us that want to use Literal in their districts. That's about 110 different school districts we're currently working with. This total student enrollment in those 110 districts is about 800,000 students. With Literal, we have the ability to reach scale very quickly. We, of course, need an application and a back end that can keep up with that, and a front end that is pleasing for users. These are some of the school districts we're working with. This is a quick snapshot of some of our title art. Once again, we are trying to make it as attractive and as modern as possible. Here you see titles that you may recognize, with some you may not. We've currently got over 200 titles on the system, which represents over 2,000 hours of reading. Any mood you're in, you can find a book on Literal to read, whether that's science fiction, classic horror, romance, adventure. We've got everything. And of course, from some of the world's best and most recognized authors, we've got Shakespeare. We have Jane Austen. We've got Herman Melville. We've got a lot of new authors like James Dashner, who wrote The Maze Runner. We have a series of his books up on the platform. Literal currently retails for $23.99 per year per student. It is a subscription service like a Netflix is. And we are playing in a market that is growing rapidly. These numbers that you're looking at were pre-COVID. So before everybody was remote for school, the market was already growing at a 9% compound annual growth rate. By 2030, it's projected to be a $428 billion market opportunity. We are a Google for Education partner. Google was actually our first investor. We are based in Provo. We are currently working with the RevRoad Accelerator, which Mentorly is also a part of. So we encourage everyone to create a Mentorly profile. Make sure you're up there. Make sure you're looking for a mentor that can help get you into any company that you may aspire to. We are certainly hiring as well. each partner serves different things, both from RevRoad, Google for Education, and a large reseller we have called the Macking Community. But in a nutshell, that is a quick intro into Literal. We are fundamentally changing what it means to read a book, and we are trying to meet modern mobile readers where they're at. So we make real books real different. Look forward to hearing from you. And Luke, if you're still there, let's open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, that was incredible, Lawton. I'm still stuck on running with the bulls over there. That was so cool, man. Seriously, you
Yeah,
got the coolest story.
If you haven't done it, I encourage everyone to post-COVID, make your way to Spain, put on your big boy boots, and come run with the bulls.
That is so cool. Well, I'm fired up. This is awesome. We've had a host of different comments come through and questions here on the chat, and so I want to kind of bring some of those up for you. The one is from Zach. He just says, "This is so cool, Lawton. Can I take Literal and use it for myself?" The answer is yes, right? If you're just a regular kind of user outside of the school districts, you can use this.
Absolutely. In fact, for those of you that are joining the presentation today, we have a promo code that you can use as you sign up for Literal. In fact, if you go to this website, joinliteral.com, you can go to joinliteral.com to create a user account. And I'll go there with you now. And at joinliteral.com, if you put in, let's make sure the site's up first. Oh, I'm already logged in, so I'm not going to see it. But go to joinliteral.com and use the promotion code FREE Classics, FREE Classics. And that'll actually get you signed up for free access to Literal. Now, it is limited. You don't have access to all the titles, as we do have to pay copyright fees on the non-public domain material, but that'll get you right in and allow you to open books and start reading on your own.
This is awesome. So kind. Thank you so much, Lawton. And I posted that in the chat so everyone can see there. So we got a follow on. Let's see. Zach said, does Literal allow for social group experiences, interactions among readers too?
Great question. And who asked that again, Luke?
That was from Zach Heckert.
Yeah, so Zach, thanks for asking the question. The answer is not now. Right now it is for individual reading. However, I mentioned we have UX team already working with us. We're in the process of testing, user testing our next sprint. And the social features are coming. We've already got them designed. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be beautiful. You'll be able to read as a group with friends. You'll be able to chat with your friends. You'll be able to leave emoji reactions to any bit of any speech bubble within the text. You'll be able to chat as you read. You'll be able to take polls with each other. We've got quite the product roadmap coming. So not yet, but it's coming. And when it does, it's going to be awesome.
Wow.
So stay tuned.
That's incredible. Caitlin, just a cool comment that I thought I'd highlight here. She says, as someone who's always been a large reader, it's always been so interesting to see how things change over time and how things have stayed the same. And Darren Stoll, oh yeah, so this is one that Darren brought up and Daniel as well. They said the application, it says unable to submit. Please contact the site administrator. But it looks like further down in the comments, Daniel found a workaround on Firefox. It seems to work, but I don't know if you know anything about that, Lawton.
No, that may be a bug fix. So I appreciate the feedback. Luke, I don't know if I'll get a transcript, but I'll certainly want to take that back to our dev team as quickly as possible. So
yeah,
thanks for reporting that.
We'll get that for you.
Yeah, what we are not doing right now, Luke, is offering a bug bounty program because we would be bankrupt by tomorrow. Right? We've got a fairly ambitious product here, and so there's there's quite a bit that needs to be ironed out to make it bug free. So thank you for reporting that error. We'll get on that quickly.
Love it. I've got a question that I think would be useful to some of these folks. A lot are newer to vSchool or maybe just graduated from vSchool and early on in their careers. Are you open to interns or folks working on projects in a technical way for a literal either?
Yeah, so right now where we're at, just because we're in a pretty intense product rev time, we unfortunately are not taking dev interns, and honestly, not because we wouldn't want to, but we simply don't have the bandwidth to manage. So it wouldn't be a great internship environment because there'd be no mentorship at the moment. But we are always on the lookout for good, ambitious talent. And so, feel free to reach out to us. My direct email is lawton@literalapp.com. Love to hear from you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like. And if now isn't the right time, it's not the right time. But let's connect and stay in touch, and we'd love to hear from you in the future.
This would be great. Okay, great. Let me see. Megan asks, how do we acquire new books, or how do you acquire new books on the platform? And and if we know an author, how do they get on your platform?
Yeah, so great. Two questions there. Number one, we started the business with public domain titles, so titles that are out of copyright, we have easy access to. We also have an editorial director who comes from the publishing industry. She's been helping us lock down our publisher agreements. We have a great little handbook and partnership agreement that will facilitate that. We've got a great commission structure set up. And if you know an individual author, so for question number two, that would be interested in getting their content on Literal, it's as easy as just reaching out. So once again, Lawton, Lawton, @literalapp.com. And send me a note, have them make an intro, and we'd love to chat. We are selling into secondary education, so all the books that we have on the system today are age appropriate for between grade 6 through 12, so about ages 11 to 18. So we are a bit discerning on what titles we allow onto the platform because it's got to be audience appropriate.
Love this.
No Breaking Bad on Game of Thrones on the platform today. Sorry.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Well, cool, Lawton. I know we're coming up on time here, but if you just want to give a quick reminder on where folks can go to apply or reach out to you, that would be great. And then we'll see you all in the next session.
Fantastic. So if you go to literalapp.com, you scroll down to the bottom of the site, there's an area where you can submit your application. And once again, my name is Lawton, Lawton. Come find me on LinkedIn. I'm at LinkedIn/in/Lawton, Lawton, or shoot us an email at lawton@literalapp.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lawton. You've been